Broadcasting on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk and AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show, brand new to you holiday edition. That's right, we do brand new interviews that you have not heard. We air them over the holidays. It's our gift for you. You guys love it, so we keep doing it, and so you're welcome. There you go. Today is going to be a freaking hoot because I have got just two guests back to back, connected through one of the greatest TV shows of all time, both excelling as well, even afterwards, in their own realms of their specialized field. The first one joining me is Bill Corbett. Bill, of course, was on Mystery Science Theater 3000. He played Brain Guy, was the voice of Crow towards the end of the season. Then after that, he, Mike Nelson, and Kevin Murphy joined together, formed RiffTrax, and they have been going gangbusters ever since. They're hilarious. It is an absolute privilege to welcome Bill Corbett to the show for this half hour. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. It is such an honor to chat with you because not only with the MST3K connection, but you guys, RiffTrax, how many years have you done RiffTrax now?
We started in 2006, and yeah, to my surprise, it's old enough to drive a car now. I mean, almost old enough to vote.
Oh, wow. 17 years. You guys are as popular as ever. I loved when the Samsung channel had you guys on a 24-hour channel. I left it on all the time, and just my wife said she'd walk past the stairs and hear me done going, ah, just every once in a while.
Yeah. And did you, like a lot of partners of RiffTrax fans, go, oh, brother, what are you doing?
Well, but to be honest, and I'm going to call them all out because there were more than a few times she was downstairs watching and laughing too. So as much as they like to eye roll, the reality is RiffTrax is brilliant. We'll get to a little bit about RiffTrax here, but let's back up a little bit and go back to you on MST3K. Talk about joining that show and your history there, taking it up to the end with the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, and I know your second. You don't mind me saying who your second guest is, do you?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, it's Trace, Bill Yu, who's a friend and the guy that I took over for with this, not only the same show, but the same character. We were both played Crow T. Robot, and he's brilliant. He's, he played one of the mad scientists to start the show, and I think he is undersung in his, just like in the way that his spirit and his work kind of infused the beginning of the show. He's like he's a very modest guy, but he's a unsung hero of it. But I came on as a writer first, and it was while they were making the Mystery Science Theater movie. They kind of needed some people to staff, and I had known a lot of the people there. Some of them had taken classes with me, which sounds weird, but I was teaching screenwriting and playwriting in town. So I knew a couple of the writers through that in the local comedy scene. So I just asked if I could sit in one day, and it was a real match. Like I seem to be good at sitting on my butt and making jokes at movies. So, what a skill. And so I got along with them, and then, when they needed a writer, they called me in so I overlapped with Trace just a little bit during that time as a writer. But then when they rebooted the show, really didn't reboot it. It was just changed networks. And I was out in LA working as a screenwriter at the time, working as a screenwriter, hoping to. Mm-hmm. I came back to Minnesota because I got the call, like, if you want a job, it's yours. And I was still just a writer at that point. They weren't sure what they were going to do with Trace's character because he was moving on. So I basically auditioned in the little kitchenette of the office with the puppet and made funny voices. And they said, all right, pick up that puppet. We start Monday. I took Crow home over the weekend and practiced. But I was not good at first. I was not a puppeteer. Uh-huh. And it was a complex puppet. And Trace was so deft at by that time, making him alive. And it's like, I made a joke once that has stuck with fans, like, well, Crow T. Robot had a stroke for a while and had to recover.
Wow.
it was a little hard.
Yeah.
But eventually I got into it, and then, yeah, it was so much fun. I had a great time doing that show.
So you guys, you finish up at Sci-Fi Channel. You and I talked one time in regards to it kind of felt like the end. I mean, stuff was being sold off. It was kind of the end of it.
Yeah.
At what time when did you and Mike and Kevin sit down and say, you know what? You guys were the core of the show at that point when it did finish up. At what point did you say, maybe it's time for us to revisit this and do this on our own?
We were thinking of ways to work together, like right off the bat. And we did have a couple of other little ventures with sci-fi.com, such an early website prototype. So we did like a little animated parody of Lord of the Rings for them. Then we started a humor website of our own, but this is like ancient history now. This is like Web 1.0, and it was terrible timing. It was about 6 months before the whole thing crashed, with pets.com and all that was the first big wave of disaster for the internet financially. So, we put out this humor website for a while, got covered in Newsweek and Spin magazine, but we really just couldn't make much money from it. So we kind of said, we politely let it go. And then I went back out to California and was working a little bit there, but we had a version of a movie riffing thing that started. It was called The Film Crew, and we released a couple of shows, and it was fun, but we ran into some legal snafus with the previous producer of Mystery Science Theater for stealing the concept, and that was a little ugly, but then we just decided to do this very stripped down thing where we would just make commentary over contemporary movies, and then just release commentary as an MP3. So that's how it restarted, I guess. It was very much like, hey, here's that MP3. You can play along with the movie with us knuckleheads making jokes over it. And then it sort of reverted back to some of the older movies, like the stuff we could get the rights for. So it wasn't just a sound thing. It was a video on demand. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the model we've followed since then, a mix of those two things, plus occasional live shows that we broadcast through Fathom Events, which also does like broadcasts from the opera and some sporting events and Drumline, and did Glenn Beck's live Christmas show once. Lately has been doing a lot of classic movies. It's been very successful. People just want to get together and see like great movies that they've never seen in a theater with people, digitally restored. And so that's a lot of what they're doing now.
You guys, and we should mention, you are doing this. You've got plans in the works maybe for one later coming up in 2024, so people should be paying attention. You need to go to RiffTrax.com, and I'll link to all of this after the show so that people can find this. And obviously you keep them up to date, because I love the concept you've come to, because it was interesting in the COVID world, and you came back from the COVID world. You came up with the idea of, as opposed to going to crowded theaters in every town and really catching something, you do one theater and then you broadcast it nationally. And I think that's a real smart way to do it, because, I mean, it is live at that point, and so everyone feels like they're involved.
Yeah, and we can reach hundreds of movie theaters, and it's usually about 700 or thereabouts, give or take a couple of dozen theaters that broadcast it. And we were doing it in Canada for a while too, but that didn't keep going. Canadians were less than charmed. But we, and then people in different cities and communities around the country who love our weird stuff. And there are it is sort of an enduring fan base, which we're incredibly lucky for, of course. Can sort of find each other in, pre-game or post-game, or so that, it's been really great. We broadcast out of Nashville, and that's just Fathom Events. When we first did our first live show in 2009, they hooked us up with this production company there called Camp Digital, which does a lot of musical events. So they were equipped to do this They do like live concerts and stuff. And so they found a little artsy movie theater there that around the Vanderbilt campus. So we've been doing it from mostly ever since. We've come up here and we did it at the State Theater in Minneapolis, did it in California once, but that place in Nashville is where the production crew is, so it's very easy.
Yeah, one of the things I like that you've also done, you got Bridget and Mary Jo doing riffs, which are very funny.
Yeah,
and you've brought back a lot of people too at times on some of your live shows. You know, there is a family here, and there are two elements of this which I think come into this why your popularity is still there, and that is one, you're just damn funny. I mean, that's at the end of the day, you guys are hilarious. But at the same time, there is a familiarity to characters that you've seen over time and personalities. And as you talk about with Trace and the way that jokes are delivered and stuff, you get familiarized with it. For God's sakes, how many years has Frasier been on now? You get familiarized with it. The reality is the reason why is people like that. People like the comfort of going back to an old friend and seeing them do what they do.
I think so. And, for some of us, given the age that we're generally at now, a lot of us, it's like they knew us as kids or young people. And I don't know, I feel incredibly grateful and flattered that so many people have stuck with us over the years. And it's not it's not that critical mass of like superstardom that could fill an arena necessarily. Although we did fill the State Theater, and I was proud of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the people have kind of like grew up with it or passed it to their kids. So we get like a huge range of ages, from people slightly older than us to like teenagers. And I don't know what to say except knock wood. I'm a lucky guy, and yeah, I think. The fact that the show started in Minnesota with people who are, generally speaking, I'm being very general here, not super ambitious in Hollywood, like it makes it offbeat and feel kind of homey, and it always sort of has. And it's just, I don't know, we've been so lucky over the years in getting, like the original crew for Mystery Science Theater was so talented. Like I said, Trace, I think, is kind of the secret sauce that made the show work to begin with.
Well, and also
major characters.
If I can step in here really quick, also bad movies do a lot to this. Now, first thing here, I just want to mention before we go to the break, RiffTrax.com, RiffTrax.com. You can find all the stuff there about all the movies, and they are fantastic. We'll take a break and come on back, and we're going to dive into some of the worst movies, the holiday movies that you've been dealing with.
Absolutely.
Bill Corbett joining us from RiffTrax. It's the Matt McNeil Show. It's the Matt McNeil Show, brand new to you over the holidays. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday out there. Bill Corbett from RiffTrax and MST3K is kind enough to join us for this half hour to talk about riffing on movies and the history he's had here. I should mention, though, people, if they want a taste of RiffTrax, your YouTube channel right now is a great place for people to go, and they can see exactly what you guys are doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of free stuff there that you can just watch that we've released over the years, or over this year especially. So go and check it out. There's a lot of stuff there. Just RiffTrax, YouTube, search, you'll find it. RiffTrax, RiffTrax on YouTube. Enjoy. You're going to laugh. You'll have a good time. All right, so ever since some sinister, evil plot with the devil concurred, apparently there have been chewing out holiday movies. I'm stunned. I mean, I think the holiday movies themselves must keep Hollywood afloat during the year because they make so many of them. And reality, most of them are just plain garbage, correct? I'm not crazy on that one, right? No, I don't think you are. I mean, I know there's a whole genre now of like Hallmark Christmas movies that I have not ventured into much, really at all, that has a whole like template to it. Like somebody comes back to their hometown and finds the guy that they left behind, and it's all very Currier and Ives. But the ones that are on the RiffTrax site are the weird ones, like the what were they thinking and why did they add, why did they give Santa a rocket ship and a cowboy sidekick kind of thing? People trying to like add their own little bits of mythology to some standard stuff, like standard Santa stuff they think it's interesting, and it's just turns out weird.
Well, and it does, as you say that, I mean, there is this, like, you've brought someone from Uzbekistan, the top director from Uzbekistan, and you say, who's never seen anything with Christmas, and so you need to make a Christmas movie. Oh, is it like the Harvest Festival? Sure. And off you go. And
it is America, so I put cowboy in it.
See, Merry Christmas. Of the ones you have watched, is there one particular holiday movie that just stands out and you said, how in the world did this even get made?
Oh, my goodness. So many choices. I just want to say one thing about the fact that you said the movies are kind of like the thing at the end of the last segment. They are really like we are. I'll give us plenty of credit. I have an ego, but really the movies are as much a character as anything. And like half of our job is curating good, weird stuff to present, stuff that would be kind of funny, probably even if it was on its own. But we try to add that extra bit of magic. Probably the one that is the most popular weird one for us is Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. It was made in the early 70s at a place called Pirates World in Florida, that Christmas haven.
Yeah.
And Pirates World was sort of like an amusement park, sort of concert venue. That I think it didn't last long, probably killed a bunch of people too on their rides. But Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny has Santa stuck on the beach, unable to get his sleigh gone. His reindeer have disappeared or something. And there's a character called the Ice Cream Bunny who was invented, I think, for the amusement park, who's this terrifying giant rabbit in a suit, like a rabbit suit guy. Who looks all wrong. It just looks like, oh my God, that is not warm-hearted, or I don't know. It looks like it melted sort of in the sun, but it's like 6 feet tall. And somehow within that, there's a little fairy tale segment they did about Thumbelina. It's incoherent. It's nuts. There's a gorilla that comes to the beach to try to pushes Santa's sleigh. And you do feel like somebody was on the influences of hard narcotics here.
Well, it is Florida.
Yeah.
They can just basically eat or drink anything, and they basically be high for a month. So, someone put that out there, and obviously you can kind of look at something as like, okay, did the amusement park kind of push this, and is the star his daughter, that sort of thing? But
those things, and the answer is usually, probably yes.
But there also is this point where there is someone who's supposed to be an external mind, who's supposed to be quality control per se, and they basically, that's the person who's knocking back the meth. Because at some point you would look at it like, sir, with all due respect, your daughter's a lovely person. You do not want to do this. But nope, they're like, green light, let's go.
This will follow her to the end of her days. It's humiliation. Don't do this to your beloved child.
The contrived nature of it. I mean, and like you said, there's a lot of people that do this sort of thing that try to make themselves look witty when they make these movies. I mean, this is why you guys are brilliant. You guys are actually witty. And so it's you popping someone's bubble who basically thinks, they've done something good when they should themselves be able to look in the mirror and say, my God, I need to fix my life. And you guys, you're almost doing a public service here.
I like to think so, Matt. I mean, we're not going to fix our lives, of course, but they should. Yeah, and you have things like because Christmas is so ubiquitous and people get together and watch media together, and like you said, it's like there's so many Christmas offerings. Like sometimes it's the attempt to find a new angle on things. Like we have one called Santa's Summer House that was filmed in a big mansion in not Santa Monica, but somewhere out in California there. And it basically is what it says, but it stars a bunch of aging martial arts stars for some reason, and they can't act. And it's basically like this bunch of people get caught in a fog, and they find themselves, it's Malibu, a Malibu house, and they basically have Christmas during the summer. It's like, who's looking for that? I don't know.
I will say, too, you do occasionally go and get the classics, and you take them to town a little bit. You have done It's a Wonderful Life. Special RiffTrax edition, I would highly recommend people go see that. It is there. But, I mean, that's got to be actually a little bit more of a challenge because that's actually a good movie.
Yeah, we do those occasionally. We've done, we call them a RiffTrax challenge, like literally. We've done Casablanca. We've done like Indiana Jones movies. It is a challenge. We don't do it too much because you just can't yell at the screen, that it's like a bad movie. So you have to find almost like an affectionate roast, like what those Dean Martin roasts that used to happen. Like you have to kind of assume that people kind of know it and then go from there. We did it to the Wizard of Oz too. Like every other line in Wizard of Oz, people know. So it was a different approach.
RiffTrax.com. So this holiday season, you want something to laugh at, that's a holiday thing, go to RiffTrax.com. Go look at their holiday. You can find their titles that they've all covered here. We've talked about that. Go to the YouTube channel. You can see the riffs there. Bill, all my best to Mike and Kevin. You guys are doing a great job. I love you. Thank God you're still doing what you're doing. You're keeping America sane, and we need that right now. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the time today.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Have happy holidays to you and your family.
Happy holidays. Bill Corbett from RiffTrax and MST3K. We'll take a break. Come on back. Trace Beaulieu is going to join us when we do return. It's the Matt McNeil Show.